Resistance is futile.
Boldly going where no show has gone before. This is The Week in Geek with David D. Squared and Brian Held. Heard live on News Talk 99.5 WRNO and the iHeartRadio app. Here are your hosts, Brian Held and D. Squared.
Greetings, people of Earth. This is The Week in Geek, your source for geek and pop culture news that's trending now. I'm your host, D Squared, along with...
Brian Held.
Brian Held. How are you, buckaroo?
Man, I'm great.
Are you? Are you lying to the audience? You know, they can tell when you're lying.
No, I'm doing all right, man.
All right, well, let's lay out the show real quick. Of course, we have top nerd news to kick the whole thing off, and there's a creepy clown in the studio with you who goes by the name of...
Skungy, and his pick of the week for our second segment.
Oh, God.
Yes.
I turned on his microphone by accident.
Yes, and then, of course, we have a special interview. It's going to take the last two segments of our show. Our guests are Dacre Stoker, who is the great-grandnephew of Bram Stoker, and international best-selling author J.D. Barker. They both collaborated on a book, Dracul. It is out on newsstands October 2nd, and it's a fantastic interview. It took two segments to do, so.
Look at you, bring in the heat.
Yep.
And now, your top nerd news stories from around the world, brought to you by the Viridian Tea Company. Find them on Etsy. And now, your top nerd news stories. All righty, Brian. So, I guess there's a lot to talk about, but you have your hand up. Yes, Mr. Hill.
Yes, out of the gate, we got to get some important information out there. So, the local chapter of the Federation of Trekkers has partnered up with the Cajun Navy because individuals in the Carolinas are still being affected by Hurricane Florence.
Right, yeah.
And so what you can do to help out is at a bunch of local library branches in New Orleans, the main library, Algiers, Central City, Hubble, Rosa F. Keller, Martin Luther King, Mid-City. There's a bunch of library locations that you can drop off donations, toiletries, basic needs, toothbrushes, hand sanitizers, all that good stuff. And if you can't get out here and you want to donate online, just go to CajunNavySupply.org.
Okay.
You can click right on the donate button and make sure those supplies get to those in need. It's still a very devastating situation for those folks.
It's unreal. It's like 12, 13 days after the fact, and all the rivers are overflowing, and areas that have never flooded before or maybe gotten slight flooding, they're getting 6 feet. Like houses are just getting, with no rain, and the houses are just getting destroyed, man.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so they need a hand.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so where would you like to start?
Well, I don't know, man. What about the Cheddar Goblin?
The Cheddar Goblin. So the movie Mandy with Nicolas Cage just came out recently. Kim Trails from 2 Minute Cage loves it. She says it is just bat bleep crazy.
Okay.
Right. Now, I haven't seen it yet, but I read this fascinating article about there is a fake commercial in the movie that these guys were tasked with making, and they made it in the style of those 80s kind of commercials, very cheesy and stuff. And the guy making it, A, didn't know what it was for, and B, just figured it would be on in the background. He didn't, He didn't realize that...
Apparently, it was a big thing in the movie where Nick Cage actually watches it.
He comments on it. He repeats the dialogue from it. And the whole deal is that in the 80s, a lot of the mascots didn't get whatever it was. Lucky Charms were stolen from the Leprechaun. Tricks is just for kids. The rabbit never got any. In this one, the Cheddar Goblin eats the mac and cheese. But then if the kids say Cheddar Goblin 3 times, he has to come out and vomit it all over them. It's absolutely disgusting. Awesome. So that is on our Facebook page. It's a fascinating article. I couldn't put it down.
Now, here's something else. I want you guys to take a listen to this.
Tigers have always been my favorite, ever since I was a kid.
Ta-da! You have to be naked?
Still can't believe you traded in the Porsche for a minivan. I'd really like to meet Batman.
No.
So now that I'm sitting here listening to it, I'm wondering if I'm listening to some cheesy, I don't know, sitcom or some rom-com movie that's coming out like, hey, I'm the Invisible Man. I have to be naked, and I have a minivan. The Invisible Mom. There we go. I just made a new movie. You're welcome, world.
Well, to give context to our listeners, that is the latest trailer for Titans, the live-action deal on DC streaming service. It looks awful.
And the worst part is they've already changed tack. I mean, initially it was supposed to be a darker, grittier version, like all the DC stuff. Bleep Batman. And now it's like, no, you can't meet Batman. I have a minivan. I'm naked and shift.
Yeah, it looks so very sitcom-y. Clearly Warner Brothers doesn't know what they want.
No.
And they're just giving us hot, stinking garbage. I know Skungy said he's got the streaming service. I think we'll have to go to his house and watch it.
Well, I only have the streaming service because I want to read the comics. Let's get that right, all right? Because the comics are going to be available.
Well, let's stay in the Batman vein or the DC vein, because Batman got another a script, and Warner Brothers apparently loves it, Brian. You hear that?
So that's the one for the 2020 release?
Yeah, that may or may not have the Batfleck in it. I don't know. I'm going to go with if Warner Brothers loves it, it's probably a stinking pile of turd.
At this point, I would agree with you.
Circle gets a square. I agree.
Look, they just can't get anything right. And look, you know what? Let's just pile on DC. Here we go. Brian, about this, I pulled this audio clip for you because I'm not sure if you're aware of this. There's a job offer in here.
The movie starring Joaquin Phoenix and directed by Todd Phillips is seeking extras for shoots in Jersey City on September 30th and November 9th, and in Newark on October 15th and 16th. Adults of all ages can apply, and the pay rate is $143 for 10 hours work.
Cha-ching.
Just recently on Twitter, Phillips released a video showing Joaquin Phoenix morphing into the Joker. He called a camera test with sound. You can apply online at gwcnyc.com. The movie is set to open up next October. Lisa G., NBC News Radio, New Jersey.
But Jersey. You got to go to Jersey.
No, I'm not going to Jersey. Nobody wants to go to Jersey.
Everyone wants to go to the Garden State.
Yeah, no, I don't even think people in the Garden State want to be in the Garden State.
I've never seen a garden in that state. Look, I don't know. I kind of like the direction that they're taking with this movie from the little bit that I've seen. I like that they're kind of trying to steer away from that god-awful Jared Leto Joker.
Right.
And sort of in the vein close to your boy from Batman Begins and or Batman, whatever the hell it was, the second one. Dark Knight, thank you.
Yes.
So it's a little bit of a different take, and Joaquin Phoenix is messed up in the head, dude. So I mean, you might be able to pull it off. Skungy, you were complaining about it.
I mean, he looks like a rodeo clown.
Yeah, but
he doesn't look like
you
the
also
Joker.
said the key factor. He looks like a cross between a rodeo clown and what?
And John Wayne Gacy. So
ta-da!
There you go.
I want to be scared by the Joker, and saying, the Heath Ledger Joker. While it wasn't scary, it was compelling.
Yeah,
it was unpredictable.
Right. And I think they always screw up the Joker by I don't know, the Jared Leto one. I just hate that one. I just hate it because it was just like, I got knives, I'm scary, boo. It wasn't. There was nothing new or funny or interesting about that character. I think Joaquin can pull it off.
Well, they said they thought they gave him too many tattoos. That was the
that was their excuse?
What?
There was an article recently that said that. Yeah.
Oh, for the love of God.
Well, hey, while we're on the DC vein, did you see, is it Tommy Wiseau?
Oh, yeah, you're killing me, Lisa.
Yes, that guy.
The Room.
Right, where the Nerdist brought him in to do a screen test as the Joker, as Heath Ledger's Joker.
I played that when you weren't expecting it.
Yes, exactly. Well, the Nerdist is at it again. They have gone and filmed the entire interrogation scene between Batman and the Joker from The Dark Knight Returns with him cast as the Joker. It is terribly fantastic. It's like, because you're like, this is so bad, but, he's...
God.
It kind of makes it good, you know what I'm saying? It's really rough. So that is out on the Nerdist website if you want to go check that out.
All right, so let's get into the crazy territory. Nagini. Have you not been paying attention to the wide world of the Grindelwald, the new Fantastic Beast?
No.
Oh man, the Twitter sphere blew up yesterday, or maybe the day before. No, 2 days ago. Sorry, it was like Wednesday or Thursday. I can't remember now. My days are confused. They have cast Nagini, Voldemort's snake,
right?
And it is a Korean woman. And people are very upset that it takes the stereotype of the Chinese dragon lady from, I don't know, I guess since the 20s, 30s, 40s, something like that.
Probably 18th century, maybe.
Yeah, I don't even know where half the stereotypes come from. But honestly, I think the biggest knock is they're still knocking on your girl who wrote all the books. And kind of when you think about it and you look at the American wizarding world, or whatever the hell they call it, it was kind of racist. It was kind of like they stereotyped every single little portion of it. She was I think she was trying to say or do something with it, but just kind of put everything in little, round hole, round peg, round hole, round peg. It's just that in this day and age, that doesn't float anymore.
Yeah, and I saw this when it came out. I watched the trailer, but I didn't notice.
Initially, what it was, you just heard him say Nagini, and they hadn't shown her yet, and so then they put out another one with all the actors saying their characters' names.
Gotcha.
And so the internet blew up because they just heard Nagini, so it was like, ah! And then the Asian lady who is cast as the character says her name, and the whole cast is excited about it. She's excited about it. Yet again, Twitter just gets their panties in a twist, and people just are losing their minds. Look, I think we've said this before and talked about it before, where it's like you can't make everybody happy. And if something is like, it ain't Gods of Egypt bad, okay?
Yes.
It's not a movie set in Africa with a whole white cast, okay?
Right.
I think there's certain levels of pistitude you could be about this, and this doesn't fall in that for me anyway.
Yeah, no, and that's fair. I'm excited for it.
I think most people are. I think, but in this day and age, you have to find something to be outraged about, and so this is the new outrage for the moment.
All right.
I'm still going to go to Harry Potter Wizarding World in Universal this week, so everyone can bite me.
Well, hey,
not Nagini.
While we're talking about you going to Universal, are you going to stop by the Halloween Horror Nights and go check that out?
Dang right I am. They got Stranger Things there, buddy.
Yeah. So apparently the cast just went through that maze.
I missed them?
Yeah, you missed them. They were there, I guess, last week.
Man. Well, they were probably in the big Supermax one over there in Hollywood. I'm going to the Orlando knockoff.
All right. No, that's fair.
Orlando's actually better.
Well, yeah, and they're bigger, too.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
it's just that they have the better special effects over there in the Hollywood, because I've seen pictures and videos from the Orlando one and the one in Hollywood, and you could tell that, there's another level that they put there, because they've got that's where they film all the movies, so they put next level stuff there. Why are you shaking your head at me?
Because I've been to Hollywood.
You're saying it's suckier than Orlando?
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
All right.
And it's weird. I thought it would be better because it's on the actual studio lot.
And it's not?
It's not. It's exactly the same. It's almost like cookie cutter.
Yeah, isn't like Disneyland, isn't that only like 2 parks as compared to Disney World?
It's tiny.
Yeah. Everything in California is much smaller because everything's landlocked.
Yeah.
See, that's why I love going to Flowrider.
Yep. There you go. So, is this your first time at Halloween Horror Nights?
No, man, dude. This is like a pilgrimage for me. But here's the first part of it, though.
All right.
DJ has finally become sort of a man, and he has sacked up and said, "Dad, I'm coming with you." So me and DJ are taking on Halloween Horror Nights.
Nice.
So hopefully he won't be in the fetal position the entire evening.
Well, we'll see.
Fingers crossed.
Now, hold on. Every time you've gone through the House of Shock with me, you scream like a little girl the entire time.
You can't prove that.
I can.
I have fun. I'm entertaining the masses.
Yeah, you definitely do that.
And I wear my Depends.
What's next? Are we getting close to a break?
We are way past the break, yeah.
All right, that's cool. All right, well, guys, stay tuned. When we get back, we're going to have our boy Skungy in his Pick of the Week. Stay tuned. You're listening to The Week in Geek on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Do you want to be more fit, more confident, and have a greater sense of well-being? Then join us at NOLA Aikido. Sensei Brian Levy and other instructors will guide you through the way of harmonious spirit as a means of self-defense, exercise, and wellness. NOLA Aikido is located at 3909 Bienville, or you can find us online at nolaaikido.com. Classes are available for both adults and children, so begin your journey today with NOLA Aikido on a greater path toward the art of peace.
Boldly going where no bar has gone before. The Bad Wolf is a bar, restaurant, and game shop all in one. You can't beat our specialty drinks, fresh food, and a variety of RPGs, board games, and miniature games for sale or rent. Stop by and hang out, or attend one of our regularly scheduled events, all in a non-smoking environment. The Bad Wolf Bar and Grill is located at 2010 O'Connor Street in Gretna, or find us at badwolfbar.com. The Bad Wolf Bar and Grill, where everybody knows your game.
Join us this fall at Contraflow, November 16th through the 18th, a science fiction convention featuring writers, artists, and entertainers from all over the country. Contraflow will have gaming, music, an art gallery, vendors, and more. This year's featured media guest is actor, writer, and producer Manu Intiraymi from Star Trek Voyager. And the featured author guest is Claudia Gray, author of Leia, Princess of Alderaan. Contraflow, November 16th through the 18th at the Airport Hilton in Kenner. For more information, check out their website at contraflowsci-fi.org or find them on Facebook.
Do you have a message or logo that you need the world to see? Then rely on the folks at Gretna Signworks to use their expertise to deliver your design. With over 15 years in business, Gretna Signworks can do commercial and yard signs, banners, screen-printed t-shirts, magnetic signs, vehicle graphics and lettering, and so much more. Gretna Signworks also has an exceptional network of suppliers, so no job is out of scope. Find Gretna Signworks on Facebook or visit them at 2125 Bell Chase Highway today.
Come out to the St. Tammany Collectors Con October 20th at the Clarion in Covington. Toys, comic books, artists, games, and more. Meet Marvel and DC comic artist Derek Donovan. Participate in the costume contest for kids and adults. And see over 13,000 square feet of toys and comics. All-day entertainment for only $3 at the St. Tammany Collectors Con October 20th at the Clarion in Covington. Find out more information at facebook.com/St. Tammany Collectors Con. Join us. You'll be glad you did. Friends, is your morning tea just not your cup of tea? Then try the tea blends of Viridian Tea Company. At Viridian Tea Company, they sell blends guaranteed to make you think outside the box. With such blends as My Enemy's Tears, Goth Librarian, Cyberpunk, and many more, your tea experience will be out of this world. Look for the blends at Tubby & Coo's Mid-City Bookshop, located at 631 North Carrollton, or on Etsy at Viridian Tea Company. Try Viridian Tea Company today. Your taste buds will thank you.
My name is Optimus Prime, and you are listening to The Week in Geek. Autobots, transform and roll out.
Welcome back. This is The Week in Geek, your source for geek and pop culture news that's trending now. I'm D Squared along with
Brian Held.
Brian, as always, we want to strongly urge you to check out the Facebook page, facebook.com/The Week in Geek. Check out our website at twigradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twigradio and the Instagram's The Week in Geek. Now, Brian, how can people listen to this lovely show?
Well, if you missed any part of tonight's show or you want to catch your favorite part again, you can always find us on Spreaker.com or download Spreaker for your smartphone or tablet. We're also on iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, the iHeartRadio app, and at WRNO.com.
I am not what you would call a handsome man.
Skungy's Pick of the Week is brought to you by GameStop and ThinkGeek.com.
Skungy's Pick of the Week.
He might be an idiot savant.
Woohoo! Skungy, what's shaking, Bacon?
Well, hi.
Hi, you've been such a good boy, quiet the whole time. Well, not really. All right, man, what are we talking about tonight?
So I got a couple of picks, just two smaller picks. The first one is the Capcom Beat 'em Up Collection.
Oh, okay, that's a weird name.
It is. So it's a retro.
I'm going to guess
pick.
it's a fighting game.
It's not a fighting game. It's a beat 'em up. It's a brawler.
Oh, the side scrollers?
Yes,
nice.
That's exactly what it is. What Capcom
like Double Dragon type stuff?
Kind of like that. Yeah, that vein. So what Capcom did recently is they released this game. It's a digital game. It's got six classic beat 'em ups from the arcade.
Okay.
Including Final Fight. There's Knights of the Round.
Oh, that's the one where, yeah. With
Lancelot and
yes.
Arthur and everything. King of Dragons, which was basically the prequel setup to the Dungeons and Dragons one.
That's what when I was watching one of them, I thought it was the Dungeons and Dragons game because I was like, oh my God, I gotta get it.
Yeah, it's very similar to it. There's a couple of them that weren't released in America. There's Warriors of Fate, which was a side-scroller beat-em-up based off the Dynasty Warriors series.
Okay.
There's Armored Heroes, which is Armored Warriors, which is a robot fighting game. And then there's Battle Circuit, which is really hard to, just weird Japanese type. And that is one of my favorites. So the cool thing about this is that these are these old brawling beat 'em up quarter eaters that used to play in the arcades.
Yeah.
I mean, these games used to take every ounce of my money that I used to. I go there with $5.
You'd always try to get some friends together. Come on, we're gonna win, and just never happened.
You never did,
dude. There was one time when my uncle gave both my cousin and I a roll of quarters each so that we could beat Golden Axe.
Did you?
Yes.
Wow. All right. Yeah, I beat Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles by myself.
Yeah, like these games were notoriously hard. So here's the cool thing about it: you get to play them at home. You could play them by yourself, couch co-op, online, and infinite continues. So so you get to actually. I
somehow lose the appeal whenever I have nothing riding on it. Maybe I should just be a degenerate gambler or something. I don't know. But I feel like the thrill is gone.
Maybe, but you get to actually finish these games. I couldn't finish any of these games in the arcade. I'm not rich.
No, right. Well, I just got my skills up. All right. So how much does it cost, and where can we find it?
$20.
Oh, all right. That's in my price range.
$20. It's on Xbox One, PS4, and the Switch.
Wow.
So that's the first one. Now the second one. This is a really cool game. That came out in a double pack. It's called the Scribblenauts Mega Pack.
Ooh, I like Scribblenauts.
Now, Scribblenauts is a game that, basically, I'm going to ask you a question. Brian, if there's a cat in a tree, how would you get that cat out of the tree?
With a ladder.
Okay, so you would type ladder.
Can you spell ladder?
Well,
and that's it. It's great for kids. DJ was using it when he was younger.
Cool.
And so, you had to write in ladder. It's funny. Every now and again, he'd ask me some I think he asked me how to spell enigma. I'm like, what do you need a Scribblenauts that you need an enigma? I don't know if you can draw an enigma.
So you've typed ladder, and then a ladder shows up in the game, and then you climb the ladder to get the cat.
Oh, that's cool.
But here's the thing: why don't you type jetpack?
Oh, okay.
And then you could put a jetpack on and fly up there, or you could be a sick person. You could sit there and say pyromaniac, and they'll burn the tree to the ground.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Chainsaw. That is the thing about this game. You are limited only by your imagination. Basically, what you write becomes real.
Okay.
So this game comes with two Scribblenaut games. It comes with Scribblenauts Unmasked, which is the Scribblenauts in the DC universe. Yes. So you get to do all these kind of puzzles with Batman and Superman and all of them. You get to create your own hero. That's really cool.
That's what it was. He asked me to spell Nemesis. That's what it was. He wanted to put a Nemesis against Batman.
Interesting.
And then the other one is Unlimited, which is more of just the regular type of Scribblenauts game. But these games, they've been out for a little while. They originally only came out on handhelds.
All right.
And so this is the first time that it's actually on consoles. And these games, like Dave said, they're great for kids because it gets them learning how to spell, and it gets them creative. And
I could get that for Dean because he's at age 5, man. He's learning.
Yeah,
that'd be perfect.
I'm kind of having a little trouble moving past the programming complexities behind this because I just think back to playing Zork and then typing in words and then the program's like, I don't understand.
Yeah, no,
but
right.
Here's the thing.
It's got a giant dictionary.
It does.
Yeah.
You could say Cthulhu.
Really?
And Cthulhu will pop up in a game. You can type in Gorgon or Medusa.
Yeah.
And it will turn enemies to stone.
Wow.
It not only does puts the character in there, but it'll put their certain abilities into the game as well.
Yeah, it's awesome.
To get religious, or you could type in God.
Interesting.
And God shows up, and nothing can beat God in the game.
Right.
So it's like the ultimate cheat in the game.
Interesting.
But it's really cool because there are all kinds of different puzzles that you have to figure out, and its only limitation is your imagination because there is no right or wrong way to complete one of the challenges.
Okay.
Lemmy or God? Lemmy is God.
Lemmy is God. Come on. Superman wears Lemmy underwear, all right? That's how cool Lemmy is.
Nice. I'm just picturing the God from Monty Python and Holy Grail and coming out of the clouds. He's very angry.
Yeah.
There was much rejoicing.
Yes.
So yeah, that game.
Yeah, how much is that, man? Because I'm actually,
it's
going to
be out on
kids,
Xbox One, PS4, and the Switch, and it's $39.99 for the bulk of them.
That's not bad. I mean, it's $20 a game. I mean, we got a lot of traction out of those games.
Yeah, it's really worth it. So I really enjoy those.
Can you mention real quick about the Xbox getting mouse and keyboard support?
So yeah, the Xbox is getting full mouse and keyboard support for certain games. It's coming soon. So you could basically, like, Overwatch is going to finally be able to get,
No, that's good.
Which is great because people who play it on console have a legitimate disadvantage against people who play it on PC.
Well, look, actually, I was talking to my boy Preston Byers from .esports.com, and look, the new Call of Duty World League that's setting up, they are actually going to start moving to LAN systems only. Like, you used to be able to kind of log in and play from somewhere else, but they decided to make it remove that because some people would lose a competitive edge through lag or faster or slower internet. So it's all LAN now. So you actually have to go to the tournaments. Now, those are for the major World League tournaments. There's still the Wi-Fi in. You can still, but LAN is where it evens the playing field.
You bring up an excellent point because I've often thought that the big names don't care about local and regional sort of tournaments because they have online play. They don't have to go out to your community because you're already in the game. But that could be a game changer.
It could be.
And events like the Independent Gaming League could start to grow more if they're forcing that localized play. That's incredible.
Yeah, so there's a lot of cool stuff they're working on. And when the new Call of Duty comes out, there's going to be a lot more things going on. And New Orleans might end up being on that stop. The first one's in Las Vegas in December, and they haven't put out the rest of the schedule. So fingers crossed, they should come back here because they loved it here.
We need to get with the NOLA Sports Foundation.
We should. Yeah,
awesome. All right, where are we at?
We got about a minute.
About a minute. Anything else going on, Skungy?
I just want to let you know that I actually did a Twitch stream earlier this week for Spider-Man.
Nice.
So if you want to go ahead and go online, it's on Twitch. It's Rev Skungy. Did just a little bit of review there. I promise I'm trying to put more and more of them out there.
Good.
So,
slacker.
I am a slacker.
You're just like Brian.
What?
We're surrounded by slackers, man.
Oh, jeez.
We know each other. He's a friend from work.
All right.
So tell everybody about our guest that's coming up.
Yes. So next segment, actually next two segments, we're going to have Dacre Stoker, the great-grandnephew of Bram Stoker, and international best-selling author J.D. Barker talking about their book Dracul from Putnam Publishing. It's out October 2nd. And this book is fantastic. I loved every minute of it. All right, guys, stay tuned. You're listening to The Week in Geek on News Talk 99.5 WRNO.
Black Tie Tans, the premier mobile spray tanning professionals of New Orleans. Black Tie Tans will come to you and give you a natural glistening glow on the go. First-time customers get 20% off their first tan. Find them on Facebook at Black Tie Tans or email them at blacktieTans@gmail.com to set your appointment. Going to a wedding? Going out to the club? Black Tie Tans will give you the look you need. Black Tie Tans. Tell your pale friends.
Come out to the St. Tammany Collectors Con October 20th at the Clarion in Covington. Toys, comic books, artists, games, and more. Meet Marvel and DC comic artist Derek Donovan. Participate in the costume contest for kids and adults. And see over 13,000 square feet of toys and comics. All-day entertainment for only $3 at the St. Tammany Collectors Con October 20th at the Clarion in Covington. Find out more information at facebook.com/St. Tammany Collectors Con. Join us. You'll be glad you did.
Do you have a message or logo that you need the world to see? Then rely on the folks at Gretna Signworks to use their expertise to deliver your design. With over 15 years in business, Gretna Signworks can do commercial and yard signs, banners, screen-printed t-shirts, magnetic signs, vehicle graphics and lettering, and so much more. Gretna Signworks also has an exceptional network of suppliers, so no job is out of scope. Find Gretna Signworks on Facebook or visit them at 2125 Bell Chase Highway today.
Mata Hari, Agent H-21 is a spy fiction short story anthology about the famous dancer, seductress, and spy from World War I. Mata Hari, Agent H-21, published by Pro Se Productions, has 7 rip-roaring adventure tales about the world-famous super spy that features her battling her enemies by using any weapons at her disposal. Mata Hari, Agent H-21 is available for purchase in ebook and paperback formats on Amazon.com.
Boldly going where no bar has gone before. The Bad Wolf is a bar, restaurant, and game shop all in one. You can't beat our specialty drinks, fresh food, and a variety of RPGs, board games, and miniature games for sale or rent. Stop by and hang out, or attend one of our regularly scheduled events, all in a non-smoking environment. The Bad Wolf Bar and Grill is located at 2010 O'Connor Street in Gretna, or find us at badwolfbar.com. The Bad Wolf Bar and Grill, where everybody knows your game.
Come out to the St. Tammany Collectors Con October 20th at the Clarion in Covington. Toys, comic books, artists, games, and more. Meet Marvel and DC comic artist Derek Donovan. Participate in the costume contest for kids and adults. And see over 13,000 square feet of toys and comics. All-day entertainment for only $3 at the St. Tammany Collectors Con October 20th at the Clarion in Covington. Find out more information at facebook.com/St. Tammany Collectors Con. Join us. You'll be glad you did.
This is Captain Rex, troopers, and you're listening to the Week in Geek. Now move out.
This is Brian Held with the Week in Geek radio show on News Talk 99.5 WRNO, and I'm joined by 2 very special guests, Mr. Dacre Stoker and Mr. J.D. Barker. Gentlemen, how are you doing tonight?
Well, Brian, it's wonderful to be here, calling in from South Carolina, where it's hot and sticky and good rainstorms flowing through the area.
Nice. And J.D.?
I'm in wonderful Pittsburgh.
Oh,
the
wow.
Vacation capital of the world. It is pouring rain outside and lightning and all kinds of nastiness, so I'm glad to be under a roof.
Well,
it's a horror night. It's a great horror night.
I was about to say, yeah, to talk about Dracul. So before we get into the book, Dacre, I wanted to ask you, you are the great-grandnephew of Bram Stoker, and just how incredible is it that you get to manage that historical estate?
Well, it is neat. I mean, it certainly it's in the blood, so to speak. But nobody else in my immediate family is really interested in sort of carrying the banner. Bram does have 2 great-grandsons who are in their late 70s, retired chartered accountants. And Dracula's not really their thing, but they respect it and they understand it, and they were actually raised by Bram's son, their grandfather. So they had some really interesting and close connection to Bram, the closest, on Earth, and get to feed me information. But they needed some help in sort of organizing how do we protect and promote Bram Stoker's intellectual property? What can we do to make some deals to keep everything flowing and to continue to kind of cherish and celebrate Bram's legacy?
Fantastic. Now, J.D., you are an international bestseller. You've got plenty of articles and short stories out there, but this is your 4th novel. How was it for you to not only do it as a collaboration, but to do it in a historical style that kind of touches back to the original Dracula?
I've been at this for a really long time. I've been working as a functioning writer for 23 years. Primarily as a book doctor and a ghostwriter, though. I didn't actually set out on my own until 2012. That's when I sat down and wrote my first novel with my actual name on it. And that kind of got spurred along because over the 23 years, I had 6 different books that hit the New York Times bestseller list, all with other people's names on the front. And after a while, that gets a little bit old, which is why I set out on my own. So I've collaborated with a lot of different people. But this one, absolutely, it was a very special thing. I mean, it felt like the wizard pulled the curtain back, and I got a peek behind the wall there to see what was going on in the world of Bram Stoker. It was a lot of fun.
No, and we got an advanced reader copy here at the show, and I just loved reading this book. I mean, it just flows so well. It touches on those historical elements, but it does have a modern flow to it, and I think it's fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Dacre, if you could tell me, and before we actually dig into Dracul, this book is based off of the missing opening statement and first 101 pages that were supposed to appear in the original edition of Dracula, but the publisher pulled that. Set that up for me, and how did you pull that together from his notes?
Well, you've hit on the gist of the whole thing. There are a number of sort of these really important source documents in Bram's life that are a part of Dracula. And ever since 2003, when I started getting into this to write the sequel to Dracula, and then I found Bram's Lost Journal, it was like, what else is new out there? And I've positioned myself by going to conferences, giving lectures, going to Romania with a guy to work on a travel book. And one day, this guy Hans de Roos called me up when we were planning a trip to Romania. He says, "But Dacre, I've got something else to talk to you about. I just found the Icelandic edition of Dracula, and it's different than the copy that we all know, the edition that we know that was published in 1897.
Nice.
So it was, we were on this long Skype then, like, what the heck's going on? Well, long story short is it was serialized. Dracula was serialized in Sweden and then in Iceland, and then it got published. But it was a different story. I wrote the introduction to the story, and my understanding at the time was, look, this has got to be a different draft. I mean, it's just everybody goes through different drafts, even in those days, and it just appeared to be very realistic, very kind of raw and guttural and violent. There was even a really cool scene of human sacrifice in the bottom of Castle Dracula. Half the story was in Castle Dracula. So, and it had corrupt politicians in London. It was a really interesting but very different story. But what really got me, and when I presented this to JD, was this preface for what we call the Icelandic preface or the original preface. And I'll read you just a really short little piece of it,
okay,
without much of an introduction, because it'll make you probably, Brian, as it did me and JD, like the hair stand up in the back of our neck, and maybe your listeners too. Because when you read this thing, it's like strangely real.
Okay.
So Bram starts off by saying, "I am quite convinced that there is no doubt whatever that the events here described really took place, however unbelievable and incomprehensible they might appear at first sight. And I am further convinced that they must always remain to some extent incomprehensible. All the people who have willingly or unwillingly played a part in the remarkable story are known generally and well respected. Both Jonathan Harker and his wife, who is a woman of character, and Dr. Seward are my friends, and have been so for many years, and I have never doubted they were telling the truth."
Wow.
So, Brian, what do you think about that, for starters?
No, I think that is very powerful. And I know from looking through notes and doing my research that Dracula was published in 1897, and that was around the same time as Jack the Ripper, and the publisher, of course, was concerned that people would become exceptionally frightened by, the tale that this could be real, right?
Exactly. And so that was one of the prefaces of our story. The other piece that I just got to slide in just before we go on with these other documents is Bram Stoker had this mysterious childhood illness from the beginning of his life, 0 to, about 7 years old. But he also had a mysterious recovery. And so the fact that, the basis for my, real interest in him as a guy goes back to my days as a teacher and athletics coach at the Olympic level, is what happened to this almost invalid that he recovered so quickly and became a champion athlete himself at Trinity College in race walking, gymnastics, rowing, rugby. He became this huge stud, growing bigger and stronger than anybody in his family. So as JD and I kind of kicked this around, it was like, well, the days of steroids and performance-enhancing drugs haven't exactly happened at that stage, but we know Bram was bloodlet. We think he was, so maybe there was something else going into his system. He had 3 brothers who were doctors, some famous uncles who were also doctors. And what happens if this whole idea of the vampire who had the strength of 10 men was sort of introduced into Bram's life at a young age? And that's when we sort of got this idea of, hey, he's telling us a story. And the story is that vampires are real, but Bram Stoker just can't go up to the local police office and say, there's a vampire running about. and he's going to kill everybody.
Right.
And throw him in an insane asylum.
Right.
So what we felt was that Bram would write a story. I mean, that's what Bram did. He wrote many novels, not just Dracul, and wrote newspaper articles. So he would protect his story in a way that it was a warning, but it was this warning that you better watch out, and it was all hidden inside the pages of Dracula. So that was sort of the premise that JD and I started kicking around, and then JD actually did a really cool thing by getting someplace where I've never been and finding the actual typescript to Dracula, which brought in more fodder for us to play with.
Well, JD, tell me about putting this together. You're no stranger to horror and that genre. So tell me about building this out of those notes and what a reader can expect.
Well, there was two things that Dacre sprung on me from the get-go that really got my attention. And the first was obviously the original Icelandic preface with Bram telling everybody this was a true story. And then he told me about the missing 101 pages. And that really got me because I've read Dracula more times than I can count. I was, I think, about 8 years old the first time I picked up a copy and read it the first time. And, for me, that story has always started in the same place with Jonathan Harker on that train. And now all of a sudden I'm learning that there's 101 pages that came before that. And that really threw me. And then we start digging through Bram Stoker's notes and his journals and the material that he's left behind, and finding little snippets and pieces of text of what those 101 pages were actually made up of. And that's really where the story itself was found. That's where we found Dracul. It was in between those things. Because Bram was he loved to take notes, but he was horribly unorganized when it came to it. If anybody gets a chance to see any of his notes or his journals, his handwriting is terrible, and it's just it's like a jumble. He'll have a note about the weather, and then right next to it will be a note about Dracula, and right after that will be something totally unrelated to those, and something in the margins about something else. So we had to pick through everything that Dacre has found over the years and everything that's been uncovered by other people to really flesh out this story, and it was there. And the fact that he was telling people that this was a true story, his publisher wouldn't publish it. You hit the nail on the head for the reason why. And I always think about War of the Worlds and how that played out.
Oh yeah.
Because we've seen since then we've seen how what would have happened, and luckily his publisher at the time had the foresight to see that because he possibly averted a nasty scare. But Bram, he wanted to get this story out there, and he actually found a way to tell it, which I thought was really cool. I got to back up a little bit, but like in today's world, if I write a novel, I send a copy off to my agent, and then my agent sends it off to my publisher and my editor, and we work off one copy pretty much the entire time. And once we get that book finalized, that one copy gets sent out by my editor to the other publishers around the world, and then they translate it into the various languages. But we're always working off that same copy. But that was different in Bram's time. In his time, he went through this book with his UK editor. They made all these changes, stripped out all this text that he wanted to have in the book. And he was kind of stuck as far as the UK goes. But he found a way around it, because in his time, his editor didn't send off those copies to the other publishers. They actually left from his own desk. So he started sneaking in these little components of things that he wanted to leave in the story and sending it off to different places. And the Icelandic version was the first one where this was really uncovered. And I think more are probably going to surface as people start translating these first editions. And the first editions appear to be key because Dracula being so popular and available in public domain, anybody can jump on the internet, they can grab the text, they can translate it into whatever language they want. And that's happening every day. If you go on the Amazon store, there's probably 100 to 500 different copies of Dracula. But they're all working off that same text. So to find Bram's, the original text, what he was really, what he snuck out there, you have to go back to those first editions. So I've got a feeling over the next, 5, 10, 15 years, as people translate those, we're going to find a lot more of this. And like Dacre said, there's different storylines, there's different characters, there's other people in the castle, and just amazing how much of the story is just missing from what we, thought was a complete tale. But anyway, overall, Dacre and I spent a lot of time putting this together and putting together, what we felt those 101 pages contained. But then we needed a way to verify it, and that's tricky.
That's the first half of our interview with Dacre Stoker and J.D. Barker, authors of Dracul, out and available on October 2nd. Stay tuned after these short commercial messages, and we'll pick right back up. You're listening to The Week in Geek on News Talk 99.5 WRNO.
Something strange in your neighborhood.
Do Do you want to be more fit, more confident, and have a greater sense of well-being? Then join us at NOLA Aikido. Sensei Brian Levy and other instructors will guide you through the way of harmonious spirit as a means of self-defense, exercise, and wellness. NOLA Aikido is located at 3909 Bienville, or you can find us online at nolaaikido.com. Classes are available for both adults and children, so begin your journey today with NOLA Aikido on a greater path toward the art of peace.
Boldly going where no bar has gone before. The Bad Wolf is a bar, restaurant, and game shop all in one. You can't beat our specialty drinks, fresh food, and a variety of RPGs, board games, and miniature games for sale or rent. Stop by and hang out, or attend one of our regularly scheduled events, all in a non-smoking environment. The Bad Wolf Bar and Grill is located at 2010 O'Connor Street in Gretna, or find us at badwolfbar.com. The Bad Wolf Bar and Grill, where everybody knows your game.
Join us this fall at Contraflow, November 16th through the 18th, a science fiction convention featuring writers, artists, and entertainers from all over the country. Contraflow will have gaming, music, an art gallery, vendors, and more. This year's featured media guest is actor, writer, and producer Manu Intiraymi from Star Trek Voyager. And the featured author guest is Claudia Gray, author of Leia, Princess of Alderaan. Contraflow, November 16th through the 18th at the Airport Hilton in Kenner. For more information, check out their website at contraflowsci-fi.org or find them on Facebook.
Do you have a message or logo that you need the world to see? Then rely on the folks at Gretna Signworks to use their expertise to deliver your design. With over 15 years in business, Gretna Signworks can do commercial and yard signs, banners, screen-printed t-shirts, magnetic signs, vehicle graphics and lettering, and so much more. Gretna Signworks also has an exceptional network of suppliers, so no job is out of scope. Find Gretna Signworks on Facebook or visit them at 2125 Bell Chase Highway today.
Come out to the St. Tammany Collectors Con October 20th at the Clarion in Covington. Toys, comic books, artists, games, and more. Meet Marvel and DC comic artist Derek Donovan. Participate in the costume contest for kids and adults. And see over 13,000 square feet of toys and comics. All-day entertainment for only $3 at the St. Tammany Collectors Con October 20th at the Clarion in Covington. Find out more information at facebook.com/St. Tammany Collectors Con. Join us. You'll be glad you did. Friends, is your morning tea just not your cup of tea? Then try the tea blends of Viridian Tea Company. At Viridian Tea Company, they sell blends guaranteed to make you think outside the box. With such blends as My Enemy's Tears, Goth Librarian, Cyberpunk, and many more, your tea experience will be out of this world. Look for the blends at Tubby & Coo's Mid-City Bookshop, located at 631 North Carrollton, or on Etsy at Viridian Tea Company. Try Viridian Tea Company today. Your taste buds will thank you.
Welcome back to The Week in Geek. Don't forget, you can listen to previous episodes on the iHeartRadio app at The Week in Geek Radio Show. Here are your hosts, D Squared and Brian Held.
Welcome back to the Week in Geek Radio Show on News Talk 99.5 WRNO as we join our guests, Dacre Stoker and J.D. Barker, telling us all about their book, Dracul, available October 2nd.
But anyway, overall, Dacre and I spent a lot of time putting this together and putting together, what we felt those 101 pages contained. But then we needed a way to verify it, and that's tricky. But I had learned through this process that a copy of the original manuscript had been found here in the States, in Pennsylvania, in a barn of all places.
Oh, wow.
And Dacre actually figured out how he thinks it got here, so I'll let him touch on that in a second. But it went up to auction at Christie's, and Paul Allen actually bought it, the co-founder of Microsoft, and this was back in the 80s. And nobody knew who had it for quite some time, I think about 10 or 15 years, and then it finally snuck out that he had it. So I started contacting his foundation for two reasons. We wanted to see it, and also I learned that a living Stoker had never actually seen the manuscript, and to me that seems kind of like a crime. For that to take place. And to work on a project like this, I wanted to be able to thank Dacre somehow. So I figured if I could put him in front of that original manuscript, that's something nobody else could do. So I hounded Paul Allen pretty hard. But he eventually invited us out to Seattle, and we got to see the manuscript. And we went to his offices. They locked us in a conference room, took away our cell phones. We had to wear gloves. A couple of employees kind of stood over us the whole time as we flipped through these pages. And we learned a lot. His copy of the manuscript it's missing the 101 pages. He doesn't have it either.
Okay.
At the top of the first page, the page number is crossed out, and there's a 1 there. The chapter is erased, and it says Chapter 1 now, and then Jonathan Harker. So he doesn't have that. But what he does have is the rest of the text. And, back then, when they made edits to a manuscript, they physically made edits to that manuscript. If they cut and paste, they would cut out a section with a pair of scissors and they would paste it into another part of the book. Or if they deleted text, they would draw lines through the text. There was no way to just hit a delete button back then.
Right.
So we started going through those pages looking for those specific sections. And that's where we found gold. When we started finding the things that were removed from the manuscript and still visible, they referenced the text from those first 101 pages, the information that Dacre and I had found. We were able to confirm that the short story, Dracula's Guest, was actually pulled from the original Dracula manuscript, which was something that his wife had said when it was originally published a couple of years after he died. But the text that we found, we were able to confirm that. So a lot of things along those lines. So seeing that manuscript was huge for us. Dacre, do you want to tell them how the manuscript actually got here?
Yeah, it's an interesting story, and thank goodness there's of the biographies that are written, one of the best is by Paul Murray, who's an Irish guy, and he was really thorough. And he found out that we all knew Bram Stoker was very close friends with Walt Whitman, and was interested in the freedom that he wrote in his poetry. And Bram met Whitman a number of times when he came across the Atlantic with the Lyceum Theater. And one of the things that Whitman did that Bram was enamored with was his lectures on Abraham Lincoln. Bram thought Lincoln and his freedom and freeing slaves and so on was pretty amazing. And so when Walt Whitman passed away, he left in his will for his lawyer and his close friend Thomas Donaldson instructions to deliver to Bram Stoker this sort of package of all of his research and notes on Abraham Lincoln. So what Bram wanted to do was deliver something of great value to Mr. Donaldson as a thank you. And he brought across his Dracula manuscript, which is technically called a typescript because it's typed.
Yeah.
And that's the farm that JD was talking about. It was, many generations later of the Donaldson family that owned this farm in Pennsylvania. And the spooky part of it, Brian, is that the last generation who were moving out of this place when they were selling it off went into this barn and opened up a trunk. And apparently in the trunk was these sort of, bones of creatures like, rats and lots of cockroach poop and stuff like that.
Right.
And, everything else torn up. But there was this untouched stack of papers with, a string around it. And it was the Dracula typescript.
How fantastic is that?
Yeah, the family just stumbled on, Dracula Holy Grail, and they passed it on to booksellers, and it went its way. Thank goodness to a guy like Paul Allen, because he does make it available, under close scrutiny, as JD said, to authors doing research. But he also puts 5 or 6 of the pages out in the Museum of Popular Culture on display in Seattle, and they're actually out there now, which is kind of cool because they've got a 5-year exhibition on horror in film, and there's I'm very proud to say, a bronze bust of Bram Stoker in this room, right next to his copies of the typescript. And what JD was saying, it was really important to us to dig into this typescript and finding Dracula's Guest, because that is actually where we decided to end our story.
Okay.
So 2 authors that are worth their salt, writing a prequel, needed to make sure where the actual beginning, or close to it, of Dracula started.
No, that's
and so
fantastic.
We knew about this story, Dracula's Guest, but we wanted, so when you read it, and I encourage your listeners to go on Project Gutenberg and get a free copy of Dracula's Notes, and you'll see why Dracul ended where it did and how it did, because that dovetails perfectly into the original starting of Dracula.
No, that's great. Now, I know you might not be able to talk about it a whole lot, but Dacre, if you could tell me, this book has already been optioned for film, and it's not even out yet. Can you talk about that at all?
And not end up getting killed. We're under strict orders to only divulge a little bit, as I'm probably sure you're aware. But it was a really cool process when the book was up for our agent Kristen Nelson created an auction with publisher houses in New York for the print version, but at the same time, same thing with studios. Right. And so JD and I were a little bit overwhelmed because we both had to fly to New York. We were in taxi cabs and Ubers, zipping around to different meetings, and we're also on the phone with studios kind of pitching us this idea of, and it's funny, I didn't get it because I haven't done this, but JD has, but they're basically telling you why we should side with them when it comes to choosing the studio we want. How lucky is that?
I know.
So we listened to pitches from all of them. JD, tell them a little bit about, because JD had a great line when they said, how do you think this movie should be done? I'll let JD say it because only he can. And it's lucky he's been through the process with some of his other stories that have been optioned as well. So tell them a little bit about what you told, I think, Paramount and some of the others, JD.
It's a weird experience. And like Dacre said, I went through it with The Fourth Monkey, my serial killer series. So it almost feels like the kid in high school who plays football really well, and all the colleges start calling him to try and recruit him.
Right.
That's kind of what that process feels like. And I had gone through it with a lot of the same people. We were talking to a lot of the same producers in the same studios and things like that. So when you get on the phone with them, there's probably you just kind of in your mind, or at least in my mind, I picture 4 or 5 people sitting around a conference table, huddled around one of those little speaker phones. And just kind of pitching you on why we should go with them. And the first question, or the first thing I always threw out there was, have you guys seen The Mummy? Because that movie with Tom Cruise had just come out. And there would always be this awkward silence, and I can picture these people sitting around the conference room kind of giving each other weird looks like, oh, God, why that? And then I would say, well, we want to make the opposite of that. Because... And that tended to break the ice a little bit because it's always a weird, tense vibe on those types of phone calls. But it was a truthful statement because I grew up, we didn't have a television in the house. So the few movies that I did get to watch were at friends' houses, or occasionally my mom would let us see something. We primarily read books. But the movies that I remember were the old black and white, scary horror movies. And back in my day, they used to run those on Saturdays. And there was no CGI back then. There was no real special effects. They had to rely on the story and on the narrative and camera angles and things like that to get a scare out of you. And those movies frightened me. The old Vincent Price stuff, that would scare the crap out of me. And I'd remember that some of those movies for weeks at a time and have nightmares. And that's really what I wanted to see happen with this. I brought up movies like The Others, which I think is a fantastic film. I mean, it still holds up. It's a creepy movie. Yeah. And a lot of the lower budget ones, like It Follows, and things like that, where they don't have a CGI budget. That's where I want to see this story get made. And Andy Muschietti is directing, who is phenomenal. He's the guy who's remaking It for Stephen King. He's got another movie out there called Mama, which is really good. But ultimately, if we can get a movie made where people watch it, come home, and have to turn on every light in their house, and they're afraid to go down in their basement for a week or two, then I'll be a happy camper. That's what I'm shooting for. And I think we've got the right team behind it to make that happen.
That I'm a big fan of all these Victorian era shows out right now. Yeah. Ripper Street, Frankenstein Chronicles, Penny Dreadful, and that's the same thing as JD just said. We don't need a great massive budget and a lot of CGI. We need great characterization. We need atmosphere. We need cobblestone streets. We need really neat towers and stuff like that. So and so it doesn't require a lot of money. It just requires adapting our story to really good killer script and good direction and some great actors. So fingers crossed.
My host and I constantly are on about Hollywood and the whole reboot culture that we live in, and just thank you both for holding them to task to actually give us good content that we've been dying for out here.
Oh, I think we're all dying for it. I love going to the movies. I'm there a couple times a week, and I'm just, I've seen some of the stuff coming. I just saw a movie about a giant shark, with Jason Statham in it, The Meg. Could have been a great flick, but the shark wasn't scary because it's CGI and it's just so fake. And it's sad, but it's like you go back. I could watch Jaws and it would still creep me out. And I think it's just because that shark just feels a little bit more real. I love the fact that you can do special effects with CGI, but when directors that are willing to to take the time to go old school and not take some of those shortcuts, I think that's ultimately what people want.
All right. No, definitely. Now, we're getting kind of close to a break, so real quick, I always ask my guests if they're ever going to make it down in our area to say hi to our listeners and things like that, but you guys are on October 9th. You're going to be at the Garden District Bookshop. Dacre, you want to take that?
Yes. It's exciting. We give a little presentation on the research and the writing of the story. It's a sort of a PowerPoint presentation with some of the cool notes that we've talked about, some of these source documents. So we're very excited. I've been down to New Orleans for Anne Rice Vampire Lestat fan club balls and things in the past. I've actually done an introduction to Marita Crandall's history of New Orleans vampires. She's the one that runs the Boutique de Vampire.
Okay.
I'm going to be stopping on there the night before. So I love the atmosphere. I love the fact that Anne Rice has put it on the map. And hopefully there's a little place for Dracul in Anne Rice's world down there.
There absolutely is. Well, all right, gentlemen, before we go, JD, if we can start with you, how can folks find out more about you, about the other novels that you have and what you've got coming up?
Easiest place to find me is my website, real easy, jdbarker.com. And I'm fairly active on Twitter. That's probably the only social media that I really spend any time on. But those two things, I've got a couple books out there already. Fourth Monkey, the 4MK series, is doing really well. That's probably a good starting point for somebody. I'm currently working on a book with James Patterson that's crazy fast-paced thriller. But I'm not quite sure when that's going to come out. I'm guessing probably sometime next year.
All right, that sounds great. And Dacre, how do folks find you out on the net and follow you?
Yeah, well, I've got a Facebook page I'm pretty active on, and also dacrestoker.com's got information about some of my literary projects and also my tours to Romania that I lead people on to see the places where the novel Dracula took place, but also where Vlad Dracula reigned and impaled. So meet me on my website.
Wonderful. Well, Dacre Stoker, J.D. Barker, thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us this evening, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Looking forward to meeting you, Brian, when I head down there.
Look at you, Brian, making new friends.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. So next week, I'm working on booking Vic James, author of Bright Ruin. We've had her twice.
Rick James?
Vic James.
Oh, they said Rick James.
No, and we've had her on twice before, and she's been wonderful both times. So this is going to be the end of her trilogy, and I'm looking forward to it.
And I'm going to come back tanned, rested, and ready. Woo! Till next time, keep your nerd flag raised high.
GFL.
Your home for the New Orleans Pelicans. News Talk 99.5 WRNO FM. New Orleans, an iHeart radio station.